So, I covered 16 players out of the 19. The 19 because Flaming Camel pulled up, I'm not counting him. I covered 16 players of the 19 remaining players in this bracket. I want to say a big apology to Sparky, who I didn't get to cover. I was going to cover his match versus Kafugal tonight, but their match was postponed, so it has to be played tomorrow, I believe, otherwise they won't finish that in time. Also want to give some apology to Group D because I didn't cover Ramaranik or John the Phil. They do have a few matches left to play. I don't know if these are all being recorded or not. I believe some of these have been played, like Cheddar versus Ramaranik, I believe has been played. But I don't know about these John the Phil matches. Not sure. And I didn't get to John the Phil primarily because I think these matches were, they were later in the week, so haven't been able to cover them. But yes, apologies to John the Phil, Ramaranik, and Sparky. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't cover Sparky because I had the thumbnail already. I had it ready for Sparky and Kafugal. And the Sparky villager was on point. So couldn't cover that. But let's go through the actual groups. So Real THF coming in first in Group A, such a solid player. I saw him play against Can't Touch Me and he dominated. He absolutely dominated. Amazing player. So he got a 3-0 against, 3-0 against Can't Touch Me. Yes, that's right. Can't Touch Me is a great player. 3-0'd him. But even so, I would have expected his match score to be higher than 7-5 based on how he played in that set. So interesting to see how his other sets went. And who did he actually lose to? He lost 3-0 to Pasta, which is surprising. That is surprising because Pasta was a good player as well, but he struggled against somebody, which I can't remember. But look at the scores here, guys. 7-5, 7-5, 6-6, 6-6, and even Lord Benji, who I'll get to later, 4-8. So this was such a competitive bracket. I mean, this was such a competitive group, and this is what I was alluding to before. We see a scenario where Can't Touch Me won 3 sets, but only got a match score of 6-6, and he's third behind Alpha Crit, who won only 2 sets but had a better match score. So that's why the third game is so important. You gotta play all of the games because you can get a scenario like that. And guys, it's crazy. That is crazy. And shout out to these players for having such close games and close sets. That's incredible. And Lord Benji. I want to get to Lord Benji because he was one of the first players I covered. And he was as skillful as any other player in this group, I thought. But he was just inconsistent. He lost every game, every set, 2-1, right? So he would have his one win in each one of those would have been amazing. I can guarantee you that. But he just wasn't consistent. He couldn't necessarily play on the other team's home maps or something, or wasn't prepared for the opposition. He knew what he wanted to do and he did it well. But shout out to Lord Benji because him going 4-8, that's what creates this close battle up the top, because he took a game off every single one of those players. Yeah, just amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Group B, Gear Bear, again, dominating player. I saw him play Kafoogle, I saw him play against player 2, I believe. And yeah, he was just a solid player. Same with Kafoogle though, like, he's got a match to play against Sparky, who, again, that match was postponed. But Kafoogle's, I wanted to cover that set because Kafoogle has a chance to get first. He can get first, or if he goes 3-0 against Sparky, he can get 11 match wins, which will be cool to see if he gets up there. And Sparky's out of it at this point, but you'd hope to see him fight on and keep the standings honest with Kafoogle still in second. Want to talk about player 2 very briefly. Very risky player. Some of the riskiest castle drops I've ever seen by player 2, and they often didn't work out. He'd go for a risky castle play, it would get thwarted, and then he would resign. But it did give him 2 wins. And he also has a game to play against Alcatraz, so a bottom of the bracket kind of play. Last set between the two. Would quite like to see that, if it hasn't already been played. A lot of these have probably already been played in the last couple of days. But Alcatraz, also want to mention, because he was a good player just like Lord Benji on the other side, just couldn't get the wins. He would go into each game with a good strategy, and it would work out quite well for him in the beginning, and he couldn't just transition it into a win or a set. So really like the strategy from him though. I thought he offered a lot to the competition in that bracket. Group C we just covered. Again, really disappointing stuff from Jazzercise, Alpha Sinus, and the Flaming Camel. With saying that, love to see Back in Black and Arnulf get the 1 and 2, because they played it right. They played the bracket the way you're supposed to play the bracket, and they got 1 and 2. So nothing I can really say there, other than the set between Back in Black and Arnulf was a great set. Back in Black actually beat Arnulf, especially on Fortified Clearing. He went for a ram rush strategy with Ethiopians, caught Arnulf completely off guard. He was going for a 3 TC boom. Didn't have the military to protect from it. Was an amazing game. So shout out to them too. Group D, like I said, I didn't cover Ram Moranek or John the Phil, but Witty Matty again, as you would expect, number 1 on the group stage, was dominating, won 4 sets. So won all of his sets, only dropped 2 games. One of them might have been to Pelican, I believe, as I just check. Yep. And the other one was to Cheddar, who are just saying now Cheddar was also a great player. Just like Lord Benji though, I thought he was inconsistent. But the games that he did win, you could see the skill come through. So very skilled player, just inconsistent. And you really need consistency to win in the group stages. Pelican, the last one to talk about here, I say it whenever I cast him, I feel like he's playing a meta from 3 years ago. He plays a lot of Britons, Mayans, Vietnamese, I think, a lot of Archer kind of civs, which we see less and less, I feel. So, also born in 1991, slightly younger than me, but another old player, old being mid-30s. So in a sense I am kind of rooting for him. I want to see the old guys win. lot of new people coming through. Well, it's a game that appeals to young and old, isn't it? So, yeah. So in terms of who I would favour, or who I want to see, again, I love the group stages because you get people like Lord Benji, you get Alcatraz who comes in with the strategies, like the well thought out strategies before you get into the game. You get the cheaters who are a little inconsistent. You get player 2 type players where they just go for the riskiest strategy, see if it works. If it doesn't, oh well, doesn't matter. So you get the wild cards in the group stage. But it all shakes out, so you get the strong players, or the consistent players, who end up coming up on top, as it should be, of course. But I would say Real THF, Alpha Crit, Gearbear, Kafugal, Arnulf, I'll skip Back in Black for now, Willy Matty. The players I just mentioned, I feel like they're just solid players. They play a solid game, and yeah, it's just at the skill level, it's just solid games, the way that you're supposed to play the game. Just from an objective sense of viewpoint at this level. Whereas I feel like Pelican, like I said, is a bit in the past, but obviously very skilled. Back in Black, we'll try some really interesting strategies, take people off guard, like a Step Lancer rush or a Ram rush on Fortified Clearing. Can't think on the top of my head, but he'll come out with very different things prepared to the T to challenge these more standard kind of players. So he's a bit of a wild card still in my mind, but does it really, really well. Yeah, Back in Black and Pelican being the more different kind of players, I would say. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the bracket, really, other than that I've really enjoyed it, really enjoyed casting it, and I will do so still. Like I said, I'm going to go to a conference on Tuesday, coming back on the Friday. That means I might miss a couple of quarterfinals as they come out, but if they haven't been casted, I'll definitely jump on the weekend to cast them. And any quarterfinals, I'll try to cover all the quarterfinals if they're not casted, and obviously go into semi-finals as well. Finals, I'm going to try and cast in the moment as well, but I'm going on holiday to New Zealand, and I'm not going to take my stuff with me. I'll be gone for about 10 days. So we'll see. I'll cast it retrospectively, but it'll obviously be a bit late, unless it takes place before I go away to New Zealand. So we'll just have to see about that. Grape Juice of 31. So okay, another 30s player. Love it, love it, love it. Back in Black says, what do you think about Gearbear? Did you look at his insights? Yeah, I do think you're a wild card, Back in Black, because you did strategies that nobody else did, which I love a lot. Nobody went for the Ram, like Fortified Clearing. I just think to that Fortified Clearing game because I feel as though on that map, people just go for the 3 TC boom, and they don't challenge the 3 TC boom because it's a riskier play, right? Like if it doesn't work out, you've lost. Whereas if you go for 3 TC boom and mash your units together in the middle in Imperial Age, then I feel like that's what happens most of the time. Having said that, Pelican, I believe it was Pelican. No, it was Witty Matty actually. Witty Matty went for Turks on Fortified Clearing and did that as well. So he might be, I could consider him a bit more of a wild card as well. because I would just go for more. You guys will go for a more aggressive strategy, a riskier strategy. Whereas I see 3TC Boom to be a bit more safe, if you know what I mean. Yeah, what did I think about Gear Bear? I just thought he was a solid player. Like, nothing, like I think he produced entertaining games for sure, but if I was to think of any one particular game off the top of my head, it would be Pacific Islands against player 2. He responded to a castle rush, and he did it well. You know, like players that respond to other players well doesn't stick out. It just shows that they're good players. He didn't necessarily go for anything aggressive himself. Yeah, he was just prepared for anything that somebody else threw at him. Yeah, I can't